Last Halloween they encountered the mausoleum. She explained they felt a sense of belonging instantly. Her eyes opened haughtily wide as she told every time the new moon lights the night sky, they congregated here. She made it clear that at first they experimented with love potions and attempts at hexagon levers, but they soon found these things tiresome, and it required more to satiate their mounting hunger for knowledge. It was shortly thereafter that they discovered the power of blood. An innocent rabbit became their first victim. Sacrificing small animals satiated their new desires. Finally, after a multitude of bizarre, unrepeatable experiments, she told how they managed to unlock the mystical capabilities that the warm ruby liquid contained. But now, she explained, their urges were going to require more than animals' blood to quench them. I listened in horror as she told of her tale. I was strangely fascinated by each menacing description that emanated from her full and red lips. She told of how the 7 of them were slowly transformed, adding with elaborate details how, as they further explored the dark arts, the more and more compelled they became to delve even deeper. She suddenly gave an unexpected, penetrating stare directly at me. I comprehended then that it was not fear in her eyes, it was excitement. The next words she spoke were going to change my world forever. Human blood is the next step. As that phrase ricocheted through my brain, I suddenly became acutely aware of the peril I was in. Not a single soul knew of my whereabouts. If something happened to me, who would think to look for me here? I hastily attempted to dash towards the exit. It was then I realized that the 2 of us were no longer alone. I can only presume that I had been far too engrossed in Carrie's gruesome tale she was telling to know 6 more figures were now all about me. They must have been there the whole time, hiding, waiting, planning for my arrival. This had been nothing more than a trap. At first, my feet tried desperately to make it to the exit. I felt a sharp crack on the back of my skull and winced in pain and horror as I felt my blood beginning to ooze freely from my head. The pain was indescribable, and so was my fear. I desperately tried to hang on to consciousness. However, I soon succumbed to the irresistible beckoning of the dark. When I awoke, I quickly ascertained my gruesome predicament. I screamed, desperate, fearful, and hopeless. I had no idea how long I'd been unconscious. I had been bound to the floor and the bindings cut into my wrists and ankles, cutting into my flesh. My arms were outstretched and my legs spread apart, crucifixion style. All of my clothing had been removed, and I felt the coarse coldness of rock against my naked back. I was just able to raise my head enough to see my heart almost thumping out of my chest. My head injury had made me nauseous, and I longed to vomit, but knew if I did so, I would surely choke to death. I heard gleeful laughter from behind me. I prayed that whatever was about to happen, that it would be quick and merciful. I watched on, helpless and terrified, as the 7 women circled me, holding hands. They began to skip and dance majestically about. Long, flowing, ruby-coloured gowns hung deliciously from their tantalizing frames. They were giggling feverishly as they revelled about me in seemingly hysterical state. Then they began to chant. I have no idea what the ancient sounding words meant. Their mantra increased, both in volume and intensity. As their movements became increasingly agitated, sweat dripped down my forehead, burning my eyes. I was scared to keep them open, but I was even more fearful of closing them. Whatever was going to happen, it was drawing nearer. All at once, the dancing and chanting abruptly stopped. Carrie broke away from the circle to return brandishing a short steel dagger. Its blade glistened in the candlelight. A different chant began now, softer, hypnotic, its rhythmic penetrating my senses. I felt all the fear begin to drain away and became almost euphoric. What was happening? What bizarre transformation was manifesting itself in me? I watched on almost joyously as Carrie stood there beside me. As she raised her glistening blade directly above my pounding heart, the 6 of us held hands and began to dance about me again. Then I watched on as the dagger came swiftly down and penetrated my chest, and I realized I was laughing. And then there was nothing. As I mentioned, that was a week ago. I have no explanation of what happened next. I suddenly became aware that I had a presence, but not a body, that I had been freed from all pain, yet my memories and thinking processes remained intact. I have desperately tried to communicate with my wife, with no avail. I am not sure what state I am in. I suspect that I am what would be usually regarded as a ghost. I understand that my soul will never be at rest until my remains have been discovered and given a Christian burial. I need a special person to help me, one that has the gift to communicate from beyond. I know that this quality is rare, that to most people this video shall appear blank. Yet, if by some chance you could watch and listen to this account, I have found my needed ally. I shall be in touch with you soon.